Hello again, I'm Rowan Kernebone from the Injured Workers Support Network. Doing the last of the series of my holiday series, I should probably say it is, on your questions answered. Next week we'll get back to the top 2 questions of the week, and they will always come out on Friday, one hopes. We've also got our online meeting on July the 15th. We're still waiting for confirmation of our guest for that, but that should be exciting. Again, July the 15th from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and right here where you're seeing it. So the question this week is on compensation. What is compensation? In particular, what is workers' compensation? And I'm going to be reading a little bit from our Workers' Compensation Handbook of 2015. So you'll excuse that, please, but we need to get this right for everybody. Workers' compensation provides injured workers and or their families, in the case of a death, with financial or material assistance to help them recover from their injuries and or adjust to life with an acquired disability. So unpacking that a little bit, financial, obviously you've got your weekly wage, what we call wage replacements, what the government calls wage benefits. It's a replacement, it's not a benefit. It shouldn't be capped, it shouldn't be touched really. You should get it until you recover. And material aid consists of a few things. Firstly, your medical and any medical support you need, that should be covered by workers' compensation. Any replacement of items that you've lost while being injured. So if you've lost a shoe, especially a work shoe, a particular type of shoe that you need for work, or particular gear that you need, that can be replaced. Aids to assist you to recover and adapt as well, so crutches, a wheelchair if you need it, home maintenance and home replacement as well. So if you now need a handrail to get up the stairs at your home, that should come out of workers' compensation. In New South Wales, it's still called work cover. Now, to explain this a little bit, work cover used to be the big agency. It's now split up into 3. You've got CIRA, which is the regulator. You've got iCare, which is the actual insurer, and you've got WorkSafe New South Wales, which did all those work health and safety aspects of the job before. All employers have to have workers' compensation, and it doesn't matter if you're a contractor or a casual or in a hire company or anything else. You should be covered by workers' compensation. Now, with a contractor, there's rules called deemed work, and in truth, if you are in deemed work, it's whether you're a true contractor or not a true contractor, basically. If you work for the same company, it's on and on and on again, and you're under a contract, then you're actually an employee by law. If you work for several companies, you may not be a deemed employee, you might be your own business. So injuries, workers' compensation covers a whole range of things that can happen. It covers injuries suffered at work, obviously, on lunch breaks or other breaks, at work functions, attending training for work, or any other activities connected to work. Now, if you're travelling between your home and work, and that's described as your home gate and your workplace gate, you may not be covered unless that trip is necessary for work. So say you've come from your home, you've gone to another site. If you're a salesperson or a sales rep, you might do this quite often. That's actually a workplace. You're actually working during that time. So workers' compensation should cover you for that. If you're not getting that, I suggest you seek legal advice. If you're a nurse, the example they used in Parliament, if you're a nurse and you stop at the side of a road accident and you're injured during that road accident, providing aid, it's part of your professional training, part of your professional job, so you should be covered for that as well. It covers also diseases or medical conditions which have been caused by work or made worse by work. So asbestos is obviously the big one that we keep talking about, that's covered by the Dust Diseases Board, but other forms of cancer are covered, and a few, black lung is covered, but that's coal miners mostly who get that, and they're covered under another workers' compensation piece of legislation. It can also be provided for some heart conditions, lung conditions, cancers, nervous conditions, stress, anxiety. Stress and anxiety are interesting. They're actually called mental diseases, and so if you go to your doctor with stress and anxiety, I suggest they make an appointment for you to see a psychiatrist and get a medical diagnosis from the psychiatrist. If your doctor writes down depression or anxiety, it's likely to be knocked back because they're common terms. They're not actually professional medical terms as such. But work-related stress is something that you can do as well. So you're covered in recess breaks. You're also covered in a few places where you might not think you are. So if you are a union rep and you're attending a course for that, then you're also covered. And if you're attending training on behalf of work, so training that work has said you need to do, you're covered during that training. So what can be actually claimed? Or replacement or supplementary wages, medical and other expenses, rehabilitation expenses, top-up wages or return to work. Now with top-up wages and return to work, check your award conditions or your enterprise agreement, because sometimes they will make up for the beds fines. For instance, if for the first 13 weeks they take away 5% of your wage, other than that they take away 20% of your wage. I better get that right, 20% of your wage. Other expenses such as travel, aids and equipment, and permits for personal impairment, lump sum payments. Now that we've covered that in detail somewhere else. There's also death entitlements and funeral expenses. What isn't covered? The journey between home and the workplace, unless you're involved in action relating to your work. Stroke and heart attack suffered at work, unless there is a significant relationship between the stroke, heart attack and work. Serious and willful misconduct or intentional self-inflicted injury. The example I use in that is the bloke who gets drunk at work and decides that they're Superman. Don't do that. Most people don't. I've never heard in the 2 years I've worked here, or the 5 years that I've worked with a union, of anybody not being covered at all or being denied because of serious and willful misconduct. And mental health suffered while going through an appropriate management intervention. Appropriate management intervention is an interesting title, and probably we should be dealing that in depth later on. So if anyone's not been injured and is looking at this, the first thing you should do is join a union, because they can provide you with support and will continue to agitate for a safe work practices at your work. You also need to comply with relevant work health and safety obligations of that workplace. So that's what you should do before you get injured. Anyone gets injured, everyone should join a union. They do provide support in this way. It's extremely practical, and you need to comply with work health and safety. Get involved with work health and safety, guys. If anyone's listening who's not there, it's really, really important. So that's compensation. Compensation is making sure you're in the same place after the accident as before the accident, so helping you recover or adapt. It's complicated, it's lengthy, and it is not the best thing to ever go through at the moment, but here at the Injured Workers Support Network, we're striving daily to make it better and placing the injured workers' health before the insurer's wealth. Thank you very much.